All right, welcome to another Small Business Pivots. Today we have a special guest from around the world, and I know no one can introduce your name and your company like you can, so I'll let you have the floor to do that.
Thanks so much. I'm Karen. I am a business coach and strategist, and I started my first online business about 15 years ago. And so I know a lot of the struggles that small business owners have. And I really love helping small business owners, learn how to create offers, learn how to build funnels so they can work less and earn more, and really help build a business that fits their life.
What part of this world are you coming to us from?
I am in the Washington, D.C. area, so on the East Coast.
Wow, there's nothing happening up there right now.
No, nothing at all. Really quiet.
I bet it's real quiet. Anything, if someone has not been to that area, that you would suggest them at least doing once?
Sure. So, two of my favorite places in Washington, D.C. are the archives. So, you can see the Declaration of Independence, all the great things. And also, the Library of Congress is beautiful and they have some really great exhibits. So, those are two places I would go to.
Very cool. So, what are we going to help our listeners with today?
So, I want to help them understand what funnels are. I think funnels kind of have a bad name, kind of with the bro marketing and Lamborghinis and gold chains and things.
Yeah.
So, I want to kind of dispel that and help people understand what funnels are. And it's really just your customer's journey in your business. That's as simple as that.
Fantastic. Because I know a lot of business owners want to grow their business, and this is essential to doing that. So let's introduce our show real quick, and we'll be right back. Welcome to Small Business Pivots, a podcast designed for small business owners. I'm your host, Michael Morrison, a small business coach and founder of Boss, where we make business ownership simplified for success so that you can own a business that runs without you. To learn more, go to businessownershipsimplified.com. All right, welcome back, Karen. We have a lot to talk about on funnels because, like you said, there's myths about them. There's so much information about them. And I know for a lot of business owners, they've been burned from them before. They've paid somebody to do this. So I'll just let you have the floor on kind of what are the foundations that people should know about funnels, what to look for, what they're for, and what they can expect from them.
So like I said, funnels really are the customer's journey. So I think it really starts with mapping out, like, where do you want your clients to go? And a lot of times that's maybe your main offer. You might have some smaller things along the way. So maybe that's where you start, just thinking about where you want your clients to end up or potential clients, and start there. And then that's when you start kind of building backwards in those funnels. And a lot of people tell me oh, Karen, I don't have a funnel. But when I look, they really do. Almost everybody has a funnel of some kind. So it could be like, let's say we're on LinkedIn and that's kind of where we met. If you then have a link that takes people off to schedule a call with you, that's kind of a mini funnel right there. So it's really, a part of that customer journey. So people have funnels and not even know it. So it's really then, okay, now that we have, even if it's that simple one, well, how do we optimize that? And you'll see that a lot of times people will have people schedule the call, but it's not clear when they're supposed to, what the call is about, how long it's going to be. They don't have any of the information that makes people feel comfortable. So again, it's optimizing each touch point with your customer along that journey. So whether it's the super small funnel or a super long, complicated funnel, we're trying to look at making it the easiest way for the customer to go from one point to another.
Would this be similar to a pipeline? Is it the same thing or is this completely different?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. We can do ones for sales, and usually people talk about pipeline in terms of sales, but it could also be like to sign up for a lead magnet even. So it's not necessarily you're getting money at the end of it, but you're starting to get them on your list. So one of the big things with social media is we don't own those platforms. And I don't know if you've ever been kind of restricted on one of the platforms. I've been restricted on LinkedIn before. And so it's
we
scary.
all have.
Yes, we all have in some way, right? And it's kind of scary if you've built a lot of your business or a lot of your contacts are on there. And so I think one of the best funnels to have is some way to get them off those social media platforms where you gather them as the audience and get them into something that you can control. And obviously email is one of those places.
So where would one start? So maybe a business owner is new to being a business owner, maybe not have the financials to invest in a coach like yourself. How can they get started in that direction? Where should they start?
Well, again, if one of their issues is not having enough leads kind of in their pipeline for sales, then I think some kind of lead magnet or some kind of little course, something along the lines so people can start to get to know you. And a lot of times people are willing to maybe make a small investment. They're not ready for that $10,000 coaching package right from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And so starting with something that they can start to know you and see if you connect, because, not everyone's for me, not everyone's for you. And so it's really finding those right people. And so if they get a little taste of how you are, whether, it could be posting on LinkedIn, it could be having a lead magnet, doing something that they get to learn a little bit about you so that they can start to take the next steps. I talk a lot about micro commitments. And what that means is getting those potential clients to give you little yeses. And it could even just having them comment on one of your posts on social media, or maybe it is giving that email and signing up for some kind of lead magnet. So those are little micro yeses that lead to those bigger yeses.
I have a lot of business owners ask me what a lead magnet is. Could you explain what that does and its purpose?
Sure. So a lead magnet is basically something that you're giving someone in exchange for their email address. So it could be a checklist, it could be a PDF, it could be some kind of calculator. I mean, it could be anything that maybe you already have in your business. I mean, a lot of people create tools for their clients. So maybe it's a scaled down version of one of those tools that you're just offering for free again. So people get a chance to see how you work, the types of things that you offer. So it's very simple. Like I said, a PDF, it could be an ebook, it could be some kind of calculator, whatever that is for in your business, something that you use. I would just repurpose it for that.
Fantastic. So when they work with someone like yourself, what does that typically look like?
Mhm. So, I mean, typically I work with somebody who has a funnel and it's not really working that well. And so it's kind of up to me to kind of audit it and see what are the places that people are dropping off. And there's usually some drop off points all along the way, but there's usually some big ones. And so I'm really looking for those places that we can kind of fill those gaps so people can continue down all the way to the end of the funnel.
So you've built your business. You said you've been in business for 15 years.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's a milestone there. What are some pivots that you've learned along the way from day one?
So my first online business was actually helping patent and trademark attorneys. So I
Wow.
have some specialized knowledge on patents and trademarks. And so I was basically a patent administrator. So I did a lot of docketing and I did some letters and things for them. And at that time, I had two little kids. And I was really struggling a little bit with productivity and kind of how to structure my business, having to take care of them and do all this work. And I found that a lot of the people that were teaching productivity and kind of business at the time, most were men, and they didn't really understand what my life was like as a mom who had kids. And, something would happen at school, they'd get hit in the head in gym class, and I'd have to take them to urgent care,
Yeah.
and I would ask them, so what do I do when I had this perfect plan for my day and things like this happened? And they just didn't know what to do because they're like, I just go to work for 8 hours and that's it. And so I really found that I needed to kind of find my own way as a mom and business owner. And that's when I got down the coaching path. And so I kind of switched from doing that type of work and then to becoming a coach. And now, I found a lot of my clients were having issues with sales and creating those funnels. So they've been in business a while, they've had some clients, and then they start to get more and they don't have any of the systems and things in place.
Yeah.
And also to kind of have those continuous leads. So that's when I kind of have shifted a little bit. And I still have the business coaching, but I do kind of focus more on the funnels.
On these funnels,
Mhm.
the most often asked question is, what can I expect? They do the same thing in digital marketing, SEO.
Mhm.
What kind of return on my investment can I see as far as what I was doing versus what I could be doing with someone like you?
So a lot of times what I find is, people kind of cobbled together things in the beginning, right? And so it's not really streamlined in any ways. And there's a lot of people who don't even have automations in place. So they're doing a lot of the manual work. So it's really kind of looking at that whole thing as a holistic piece and figuring out, okay, what are the pieces we can automate? What are some things maybe we can optimize? So it's really looking at it. So it actually takes less time for you, which I think most people want. And often you'll get more leads and potentially then more money. So in terms of a straight ROI, I can't say. Each situation is different, but definitely people often just say to me, it's such a relief now. I know this funnel is working. I don't have to do anything. It's just working behind the scenes. And so I think, getting back some of that time is really important as well.
Other than pinpointing where people are dropping off, what is the most important part of the funnel as far as
Mhm.
turning them into a lead?
So I think a lot of people, put up lead magnets and other things without really thinking of that strategy of where they want to take them to. And so you might have one on one topic and something on another topic. And so people don't have a reason to continue down because they think, oh, I got this piece and your next offer is completely different topic. That's not related to me, right? So you really have to think of, again, that end goal and then work backwards and what are the pieces that I can do that's maybe like the first one is maybe 20% of the whole journey and then 40% kind of the journey, right? Really thinking about what's the first step and first win that I can get for them. What's the next one that leads them then down to the full offer that gets them the whole piece.
Is a funnel reliant on an email list?
I think it's a big part of that, right? Some people can do it like through Messenger and kind of other kind of messaging apps and things. But I do think email is a big part. A lot of people are moving to texting, which is another way to do it as well. But I think email has been around a long time. It really brings one of the biggest ROIs for your business because you have this list that you have control over that, you can help give them value, but then also make offers too on your timeline, right? And it's not like social media because, they may just be scrolling and not see that. You have more likelihood that they'd be opening it in their inbox. And so I think email can be a really good cornerstone for a funnel.
That was kind of my segue into emails because this
Okay.
is Q3 2024 that we're recording. Unbelievable. Hard to
Right.
believe this is second half of the year, but it is. And Google just came out with a lot of stuff, and you've kind of been coaching people through that on LinkedIn. So, can you share a little bit about what that is, how it works, and why we need to be aware of it?
Right. So Google, Yahoo, and it's been Microsoft, and kind of all of them have come together to create these new authentication rules for emails.
You're listening to Small Business Pivots. This episode is proudly brought to you by Boss, where business ownership is simplified for success. At Boss, we help business owners create their businesses to run smoothly without them being there 24/7. Our seasoned business coaches who have walked the path themselves provide invaluable guidance and support. And with additional services like fast business loans, some approved within 24 to 48 hours, comprehensive online courses, detailed workbooks, and engaging classes, Boss offers a wealth of resources to help you succeed. Discover how small business success begins with Boss at businessownershipsimplified.com. If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure to stay connected by hitting that subscribe button, giving us a thumbs up, or leaving a positive review. Your support keeps us going. Now let's get back to our incredible guest.
Right. So Google, Yahoo, and it's been Microsoft, and kind of all of them have come together to create these new authentication rules for emails. So in the past, you could send out emails through an email service provider like MailChimp or ConvertKit using like a Gmail address. So KarenGrill@gmail.com. That's no longer the case. You actually have to have a domain-based email. So it'd be, info@karengrill.com, right? So have my domain be part of that email address. In addition, they've required people to have certain records in terms. So it's somewhat complicated, but in terms of being able to send, you have to have things authenticated the proper way. Otherwise, your emails will not get through. And, Google and Yahoo are starting to penalize. They started in June and April. And, if your emails aren't getting through, there's no reason to sit down and take your time and waste your time writing these emails if they're not getting through to the end user. So it's really important if you haven't learned anything about that, there's a lot of information out there, but you really need to take this seriously. I think a lot of business owners were caught off guard. They didn't think it was going to happen, or they didn't really know the implications. And knowing now that these huge email lists, their emails aren't getting through and they're getting penalized, that's a big issue for so many business owners.
Yeah, it is. So, what is kind of that number? Is it for someone that's only sending out like hundreds of emails, or is this like every email?
So, originally they had talked about people sending over 5,000 emails, but they've actually backtracked on that. And they said, basically, this is going to be the new standard for email marketing. So even if they aren't, penalizing everyone right now, at some point they will. They want this to be the standard process from now on. And so I think it's important that all the business owners take that seriously. If you make money with your email list, this is serious. And I think you really need to make sure that you're authenticated properly.
Are people that use, I'm not promoting this platform, but for people that use like MailChimp or something like that, do we have to be aware or be concerned with that also, I guess?
So it's really only when you use kind of those email service providers, MailChimp, ConvertKit, whatever that is. They had tried to help people,
Mhm.
go through the steps that needed to happen. And so I would definitely check with whatever mail service provider you're using. But a lot of them fell short in what actually Google and Yahoo wanted. So it's really important that you kind of educate yourself as business owners. Unfortunately, it's an ongoing process. We're always having to learn new skills,
Yeah.
new things. And so I definitely think, first go to your email service provider and see what they're saying, but there are places that you can check to make sure that you're authenticated properly. So I definitely recommend that. I've reviewed, gosh, now it's like over 85 different businesses and their
Mhm.
authentications. And I would say like 80% are not correct. And
Really?
so it's definitely important. Even if you think you've done it right, most of the time it's not done
Yeah.
completely. So I definitely recommend, educating yourself about that.
Do you offer that service?
I do. I do a lot of that authentication process now and really just checking if you have it right. I mean, you can go off and I'll just let you know that. But if you have troubles, I will definitely help you with that.
So, can you help us answer this question?
Okay.
We have business owners that I know I need to build an email list, but I can't get anybody to my website to get them to even download a lead gen. Do you
Mhm.
have any suggestions for that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends a little bit on how your business is built. I mean, a lot of people now use social media to drive them to sign up to things. So if you have any social media platforms that you're using, that's an easy way, and that's one of the easiest way I think people do that. People do run ads. I mean, that is an option. A lot of the businesses I recommend starting organic because you don't want to spend money on something you haven't tested, and organic is at least one way to test to see if this message is resonating, if people actually want what I'm offering.
Yeah.
Because if not, I don't want you to spend money on that. So there's different ways you can try that, but definitely having a traffic strategy is just as important as any other kind of strategy that you have, right? So really figuring out, okay, how do I get people to know about me, right? And that's kind of one of the main issues for any business, let alone for a funnel. So figuring out how am I going to send people from maybe social media to sign up on that sign up page and then get them on my email list so I can start to get them there.
So, the big question
Okay.
is people try to do it yourself, the funnels. They watch the YouTubes, the books, and I know this can be all over the board, but what percentage would you guess would be the difference between results of the do-it-yourselfers versus having someone like you that does it every day, the difference in outcomes?
So I definitely know that a lot of my clients, when they, after they've worked with me, a lot of times it can be 30 to 50% increase. So it can be a big difference, but I still think that people should start where they are, right? So if you don't have the money or you don't have the budget or this isn't on your timeline right now, that shouldn't prevent you from starting. So I definitely think you should start kind of building that funnel. Like I said, a simple funnel it could be to schedule for start there yourself so you can start to see we business owners, we have to be responsible for our data. Anyone to sign up, you have an issue before you even need to talk to me. You can identify that yourself, right? So start with a small funnel, start testing it out to get more complicated ones, or you want to optimize what you have. That's when I would reach out to somebody else.
So, we're a business coach company also. We work with a lot of business owners,
Right.
and there's this thing that you may have heard about, Chat GPT.
Yes.
Is that the end all solution to I just I need content for this, copy, paste it, and go? Can you address a little bit about that? Because I know that's part of the funnel because content is part of the funnels. Can you help us out on that?
Yes. So, I mean, I definitely think, Chat GPT is a tool that we can use, but I don't think people are using it the right way. They just kind of ask them a question and think it'll, create this compelling content. But unless you give it the right context, right? It doesn't know your audience. It doesn't know their pain points. It doesn't know really what you offer. So if you're not providing it a lot of time and information and letting it know what you're looking for, it's not going to give you good results. So I definitely recommend, if you're using it for brainstorming ideas, I think that can work. But I wouldn't use it to write your content or to write your sales page or to write your offer. Instead, I would have you, since you're the expert in what you do, you have been working with your audience, you know their pain points and their troubles that they have. I would start with you creating the sales page or whatever that is, the email, the content. And then you can ask ChatGPT, how does this look? Is there any changes you would make? Does this seem in alignment? Right. So I would use it almost as like a check to make sure that you just kind of are on the right thing. I wouldn't use it to actually create the content. I would use it for brainstorming. I would use it maybe for editing or checking if you're on the right track. But that's how I would recommend using it.
What goes into the content formula? Because I know there's some SEO keywords, things like that. How much is that part of the funnel being important?
So, it's obviously, I think the most important thing is really having kind of a message or compelling offer for your target audience. And so I find some people get too distracted with all the keywords. And so it doesn't seem like it kind of flows in terms of what they're talking about. It doesn't seem like a real person is actually writing it because they're trying to get the right keywords in the right place. So I would rather have you start and really create the content that you know that your audience needs to hear and that they would want. And then you can think about, okay, well, maybe we need to just optimize it and look for those keywords, make sure they're in the right place. If you have it in the header, second header and all those things. But I think first it's about creating the content. Then you can kind of go back and change it. Because otherwise I find that the content is stilted. It's not normal. People would not read this if it's not interesting. It doesn't have a hook. The hook is one of the most important things for social media posts and even in emails, kind of the subject line. So if you're not optimizing for that, you can have all the keywords you want and it's not really going to help you because it's not going to resonate with your ideal audience. So again, I think it's all about us, standing in our place of being an expert and then taking that information and making sure that it's the right message that our audience needs to hear.
Do you offer content writing?
I do. So, that I've done a persuasion strategist course. And so I do a lot with persuasion. And so that's definitely something I help clients with as well.
So let's go to the business, put our business owner hat on. What would you say are some things you've learned along the way that you would share with others that may not know that?
So, I think especially when I was starting out, I was definitely a little naive about, kind of creating offer. I definitely was more kind of factual based. I just said what my offer was, and I thought that that would be enough. But especially now with the way, having the internet and everyone has access to so information and probably overloaded with information, we need to figure out ways to stand out. And just saying that I offer business coaching and I have this many sessions, that just doesn't do it, right? You really have to speak to how you're going to help the clients, like the transformation that you're going to do for them, and figure out a way that's really going to tap into what they're looking for, their problems and their issues. And so I think, at the beginning, I was too kind of practical about the way I did my offers. And I really learned along the way, if I want to get those results, if I want my funnel to work, if I want my offer to work, my sales page, I have to make sure that I'm really putting everything in terms of my ideal client. It's not about me. It's not about what I offer, but what they need and what they want.
What are some tips on marketing in general? I know that marketing has to work together. So we have our social media, we have our web page. So what are some guidance tips that you can give to, hey, when you're doing this, make sure everything does this or something, how it all ties together?
So I think one of the things that I find with a lot of business owners is they're not clear themselves, right? And so if we don't have the clarity, we aren't going to be able to have a message that actually resonates. And so once we're clear on what we're doing, what we're offering, who we're offering it to, all those things, then I think it's easier to be in alignment across all our marketing efforts. So whether it's social media and email, our website, all those things. So, start with the clarity for you and your business and your audience. And then I think it's easier to create those messages that will resonate across the board.
We work with small business owners, but we don't work with every small business owner, right? Because they're in different seasons of business. They might have different pain points. So what you said about clarity is so important, about know who your ideal client is first, so you know how you can even help them. That's a great point that you mentioned. If someone wants to learn more about you, get in touch with you, what are the best ways to do that?
Well, I am definitely LinkedIn. That's usually where I hang out. So you can find me there at Karen Grell. If you are interested in having a call, I have callwithkaren.com and you can reach me there.
Fantastic. Let's say there's a room full of business owners of all different sizes and industries. What is one applicable advice you could say that would work for all of them?
Start with the simplest funnel. Make sure you're looking at it's working all the way. Figure out ways so you can optimize it before you go off and try to spend money and hire someone else. Really work with what you have first. Try to do the best you can and then seek advice from other people.
That's so important. And for business owners out there that are looking for someone, first of all, make sure they call you, Karen. But if for some reason you're daring enough to go try to find somebody else, what are some tips that they should look for? Because we have all these Fivers and we have Upwork, we have all these places. And I, like many business owners, have been severely burned by a lot of people on there. So how can someone find, what are some tips or guidance you can say, like, make sure they do this or don't do that or whatever?
So I definitely find that when I've made kind of hiring mistakes is I wasn't prepared enough for myself. So I actually wasn't clear enough on what I wanted from them. I also didn't have any of the systems set up ahead of time so that when they came in, they were set up for success. So I actually found that it was mostly a lot of the time my fault that I wasn't prepared enough. And so I was not setting them up for success. So I think it starts with us making sure you're really clear on what you're going to have them do. Do you have those systems in place so when they come in, they have all the information they need to get started? Because a lot of times we don't. And so they can't really get started. And so you're kind of paying them and they're not really doing the work that you want yet. So making sure you have those systems in place. But I also think it's important to take the time. I think a lot of people try to hire really quickly because they need someone right away. But you also need to make sure there's some kind of rapport with the person, that you have some idea that they can do what you want them to do. There's definitely things you can teach people, but they need to at least have the right kind of mindset for your work. So I think it starts with us first, but then making sure you're really taking the time to hire the right people.
I want to expand on that because I tell business owners all the time, because we always find an excuse, right? Well, I can't find good people. It's because of this. It's the economy. It's Congress. No, this mess that you have, Mr. or Miss Business Owner, you either created that or allowed it to happen. So take ownership first. I love what you just said. So I just wanted to kind of
I agree.
give my rant. Well, Karen, you've been a blessing to everyone that's listening. I appreciate you. We'll see you on LinkedIn. And everybody, make sure you go follow Karen and reach out to her. You see how friendly and smiley she is. I promise you'll have a good conversation. Thanks again, Karen.
Oh, thanks so much, Michael. It's great to talk to you.
Thank you for listening to Small Business Pivots. Please don't forget to subscribe and share this podcast. If your business is stuck, you need help creating a business that can run without you, or you need a fast business loan or line of credit, go to our website, businessownershipsimplified.com, and schedule a free consultation to learn why small business success starts with BOSS. If you want to talk anything small business related, email me at michael@michaeldmorrison.com. We'll see you next time on Small Business Pivots.